They've been embargoed by the U.S. We don't allow any other country to trade with them, and yet
That's
they had
that's a
some of the
lie.
hold on, let me finish. But despite that, they still have some of the best doctors in the world, and the U.S. outsources to Cuba. Actually, like we take in Cuban doctors, but we don't take in Cuban people. We don't
We do
allow.
take in Cuba people.
Yeah,
There's been well over 100,000 Cuban migrants in the past
yeah,
two
no.
years
When
alone.
they get to
So I don't know what you're talking about.
when they're able to get past the National Guard and get into Miami, sure, yeah.
But we don't stop all
we don't-
countries from trading with Cuba. Cuba trades with Russia, Venezuela, Germany,
Yeah,
the
and
United States.
how does but Russia is only able to trade with Cuba by means of like acts of war, essentially. Like they need to get past our.
What are you talking about?
They need to protect their ships. It's by threats of war.
Could you give me a single source that shows that Russia has threatened war with the United States over trading with Cuba?
I mean, it's essentially like if
Just say
Russia's
no.
not able-
Just say no. You made that up out of thin air. You literally made that up out of, that is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life. You just made it up on the spot. Please just run it back. It's okay. It's not too late. Just run it back. Just say, I made it up. I was just
Okay, then why
yapping.
why
That's
does
all
the
you have to
US
say.
why does the U.S. keep naval bases in the area and
Oh my gosh. Dude, you said a factually incorrect statement, all right? You said the United States stops all other
I said
countries from trading
essentially
with
by
Cuba.
act of
That's a
war.
lie. Lots of countries trade with Cuba. The data is available. This is public information. It's not hidden from anybody. You could have Googled in 5 seconds and found out that that's not true.
You can Google the trade embargo with Cuba.
Yeah, there is a trade embargo with Cuba. The trade embargo does not stop does not stop Cuba from trading with any country. It still trades. It still trades with the United States. You just don't know what the embargo actually consists of because you're a clueless person who defends countries and ideologies you know nothing about.
And all over the place as well.
Let's go back. So you came up here to talk about Cuba, right?
Right?
So Cuba, so all right, we established you were wrong about the trade embargo. You don't know what the trade embargo is. You thought that Cuba doesn't trade with any other countries when it does, including the United States again. You said that you're the only examples you gave of Cuba doing anything good was the literacy rates, which, by the way, Cuba had the fourth highest literacy rate in Latin America in 1950, behind Argentina, Chile, and Costa Rica. And currently it has the second. Several other countries, their literacy rates grew much faster than Cuba's from 1950 to 1995, including Haiti, Guatemala, El Salvador, the Dominican Republic, Brazil, Ecuador, and Panama. So, like, I don't see how this is some big communist success. You know, this is just something that happened everywhere during that period. It happened all across the world. You can look at world literacy rates from 1950 to 1990.
I mean, when you put into perspective, Cuba's an island, and
Okay, and
with their population, they still managed to overcome the massive force behind the U.S.'s trade.
how did they overcome? How do you quantify they overcame?
I mean,
What does that even mean?
So they're still able to be self-sufficient as a country, and
They're not self-sufficient. That's a complete lie. They trade with a bunch of other countries. Again, I already it would be impossible for Cuba to be self-sufficient.
They're able to survive with their system. They're able to.
And it's not working very well. They're experiencing the worst economic crisis they've had in the past 30 years. Poverty is going up drastically. Wages are falling. There's shortages. There's massive protest against the government right now. Doesn't seem like it's super great.
Why do you think that is exactly?
Because of the economic crisis.
It's because what causes economic crises in a country that is under a trade embargo, sir.
Wait, so you think the trade embargo just periodically causes an economic crisis every 30 years?
Okay, do you think capitalism is completely immune to that?
Can you answer the question? You guys always do this. You never want to be on the defensive about your systems. You always want to just attack capitalism. You don't want to be on the defensive because you can't possibly defend it. You always want to put me on the defensive and go, oh no, it's talking about capitalism. No, defend your system. This live isn't about capitalism. The live is about communism. So let's talk about communism.
Well, that's part of the discussion. Like,
no, it's not. You were arguing that the trade embargo caused the economic crisis. You have no basis for that, by the way. You're just guessing. Their last major economic crisis was in the 90s after the Soviet Union fell, because the Soviet Union was their biggest trade partner. And before that, they didn't really have any major economic crises, but their economy was largely very stagnant from the 60s to the 90s, even though they were trading with other countries, and the other countries like the Soviet Union and China were giving them more money than the United States was giving them prior. So theoretically, according to your guys' arguments about how important Cuba's trade is, Cuba should have been doing far better, but it wasn't. I wonder why that is. Maybe it's because their system sucks.